Christmas, you filthy animals, and welcome to the BXG podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as Christopher Nolan in movies that I am not smart enough to watch. I am one of your hosts, the protagonist, Brendan Bestwick, alongside my co-host, the inverted antagonist, Gregory Filson. Greg, how are you tonight?
Don't try to understand it. I think that's the theme. Merry Christmas, everyone. We're glad you're here for the episode. I know Christmas is on Friday. We're going to push this back, but I hope you had a great Christmas. I'm sure I did.
Maybe not. I haven't decided yet.
Whenever you decided, I hope you had a great Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and everything. And whatever you celebrate, I hope you had a great one. Yeah, I'm excited about this episode. We have so many topics, and I'm doing fine. I worked a lot of hours this week. I did a 7-day week. 7-day week, because retail. Here we go.
Very well. Housekeeping. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, now Pandora, just as of the other day, and other podcast services around the world. Official BXG social media accounts on Facebook, facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram @BXG Podcast, Twitter @BXG Podcast, plus the youtube.com/BXG Podcast, and the email, we can be reached at the email or the Facebook page at BXG Podcast. I'm sorry, bxgpodcast@gmail.com. As we record, it's Tuesday the 22nd. This will either go live Christmas Day or the day after. I assume nobody's really going to have time for listening to podcasts on Christmas Day, so I might bump it back. Also, just to give me a little bit of extra time, because we're going to be doing part 2 of our Star Wars extravaganza ranking. And is that a race car?
No, it's me doing my lightsaber. I'm sorry. I'm not that good at it.
Part 1 is available now as of today. So part 1 will be available definitely by the time that you hear this. So check that out. We go through The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Solo, A Star Wars Story, and Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. And in part 1, we're going to do the final 6 in part 2. So that ought to be fun. Corrections and clarifications from last week. First appearance of the Fantastic Four. November 1961. For clarification, first appearance of the X-Men was 1963, so not that big of a gap. That came from the conversation about the Fantastic Four being the most Marvel team. I remarked that Dunkirk was done with no script. It did have a script, but Chris Nolan's original pitch was to do it without one. And then Nom was the winner of Ultimate Beastmaster, one of the challenge participants, and then we didn't know what that was. I was hoping that it was like who trains animals the best.
That would have been awesome.
But it's kind of an obstacle course competition like Gladiator or American Ninja Warrior. So we have those. We have a great show tonight. Burl Ives is here.
Oh, well, of course he is. Yeah.
Tis
the season for Burl. He's melting as a snowman right now.
He is melting unless he lives maybe a little bit further north. We got a pretty rough snowstorm over the weekend, and I think we're due for another one prior to Christmas or on Christmas. So I believe we will have a white Christmas, which is always exciting.
It might rain here next week. Yeah. So there you go.
What's the temperature there?
Right now? I think it was like 66 today. I went running, it was 45. It was chilly.
Why don't you go kiss my ass? It's going to be, I think the high on Christmas Day here this Friday is supposed to be like 17.
Oof.
Where I'm at. Let me double check that. I know it was chilled. 18. Yeah. High of 18 with some snow on Thursday and Friday. The next 2 days is supposed to be fairly warm in the mid 40s, but then down to 18. We'll be celebrating in this week's episode the airing of the grievances via the Festivus tradition. So we'll get to those a little bit later on.
Holidays.
Well, the least holy of the holidays.
That's right, the least. At least
Some
I get
that
confused sometimes.
Yeah. So we've got plenty of listener submissions. I myself harassed several people to join in on the fun. Not a ton of quick hitters this week, and since there's not a ton, I thought we could do a fun little Christmas activity.
I'm down for Christmas activities.
So,
are we making cookies and decorating them?
No. Oh. You live in California. How are we going to pull that off? We're 3 hours away.
You can zoom that. I'm not sure how. Oh, you TikTok it. I think you TikTok that. I think. Or you dance.
So we have our 6-pack of topics, and then the airing of the grievances, our Christmas activity, a couple quick hitters. What are you doing?
I'm TikTok dancing.
It's not a video podcast.
Oh, that's right.
It's
not
an audio
yet.
only. Yeah, I don't know.
Tell your mothers
This
enough, and then maybe it'll
This
be...
mug isn't built for video, I don't think. Number one. Mandalorian Chapter 16 review. The Rescue. Chapter 16, The Rescue, sees Fennec, Boba, and Din Djarin seek out Bo-Katan and her crew to recruit them for the mission. Once on board Moff Gideon's light cruiser, the quartet of ladies make their way to the bridge to confront Moff Gideon, with Bo-Katan being very insistent that he must surrender to her and only her. Din makes his way to the brig where Grogu is being held. The attacks are coordinated so that he can release the Dark Troopers into space and rescue Grogu without incident. Instead, he makes it there a little bit late and has to fend off one of the troopers and then take down Moff Gideon in a duel between the Darksaber and his Beskar spear. After defeating Gideon and saving Grogu, who rejoins the others only to learn that in defeating Gideon, he is now the rightful owner of the Darksaber. Before he and Bo-Katan can hash things out, the Dark Troopers return. They line up outside of the blast doors of the bridge and begin to punch their way through it until a single X-Wing arrives, a hooded figure with a green lightsaber in a gloved hand, cut through the entire platoon of Dark Troopers, and we learn the Jedi who answers Grogu's call from the Seeing Stone is none other than Luke Skywalker himself, played by digitally de-aged Mark Hamill. Din removes his helmet for a heartfelt farewell, and Grogu leaves with Luke and R2-D2.
Awesome. I read some things where people were like kind of crapping on this a little bit. I didn't care. You know what I did? When I saw the X-Wing fly in, I stood up. Because that's the kind of praise, that's what he deserves. That's what Luke Skywalker deserves. I assumed it was Luke Skywalker because it was an X-Wing. The green lightsaber threw me off for a second. I was like, what the heck is going on for a second? But then he's just using the Force, slicing through the Dark Troopers. It was incredible. The build-up was a little slow. I will say the build-up to all that was like, I'm not sure, and the Dark Troopers were kind of like badass, but Din had his, kind of was able to fight through one a little bit. But man, that ending, I know, maybe that's part of the Disneyfication. Oh, we have to bring someone back. But if you're going to bring someone back, bring back the greatest character as a Jedi, bring him back.
Watto?
Oh, Jar Jar Binks was unavailable. But bring back Luke Skywalker and just crushing it. Like, that was just so... Because you don't see... I mean, you rarely see... there is the Darth Vader scene in... Rogue One, which is kind of what that reminded me of.
Yeah, a little bit.
But, like, to see Luke Skywalker do it, and it not being children was super cool. It's just, like, to just go through those guys like they're nothing. I mean, it was so cool. Maybe it just fed to people like me, where it's just, like, I am a Luke Skywalker person, and I don't think... It's always... We talked about this in our Star Wars. Like, everyone always likes someone else other than Luke Skywalker because it's so easy. But it's like... No, It's cool. Like, Luke Skywalker's awesome. And this was a great scene of Luke Skywalker just being awesome, which we haven't seen in this show, and we haven't seen actually in Star Wars since freaking, Return of the Jedi. We haven't seen this. And we got to see it. I was pumped. I stood up. I'm not going to lie to you. My eyes got a little watery. It was just that cool. It was tears of, like, joy. It wasn't like, I was just actually happy that, like, oh my god, like, this brought me back to, like, my actual childhood of Luke Skywalker kicking ass, I loved it. And, when Din takes his helmet off and everything, I just thought it was a great episode, and haters be damned, I loved it. And I don't know if it's my favorite episode, because I actually thought this season really killed it with its episodes, once it really kind of came to it. But I loved it.
Yeah, I think that I've campaigned kind of against the whole small universe thing where everything has to tie back to, the original trilogy and the Skywalkers and all that. And we floated out some different things, and I was on the record saying that I thought it would be the character from Star Wars Rebels, Ezra Bridger. And I was surprised And when, the green lightsaber and the glove came out, I was like, they're just teasing us. They're setting us up. It's not actually going to be him. I mean, I felt like in the moment it was like, this is awesome. This hits that nostalgia button real hard. I didn't think the de-aging looked great.
The de-aging never looks great.
It never
does.
Yeah.
I put that aside.
It never does. Yeah, sure. My thought initially was, is that even him? Is that even Mark Hamill? But they did confirm that it was. I thought Moff Gideon kind of went out like a chump.
But a lot of people do in Star. That's kind of the to say that is accurate. A lot of characters go out like chumps in Star Wars movies, and that's kind of a Star Wars thing. It's weird, but it's not like trying to take down Thanos or something like that. It's like pretty much like, once you kind of get to your final boss, getting there is actually the hardest part, and then you get to the final boss, and it's like, oh.
Well, I don't think that this guy's the final boss.
No, I don't either, but I just mean this season's final boss was basically
right.
Oh, it's so hard to get here, and then because it was a really tough road. It took a while, and there's some weird turns and stuff like that. But then you get to him, and he was kind of an easy out.
Yeah, and then even the Dark Troopers, they built up throughout the season as these almost indestructible droids. He took care of one. I mean, he got roughed up pretty good. The Mandalorian did, but when Luke came in, it might as well have been toddlers.
Right.
You know what I mean? He just went through them like they were nothing. Which, they wanted to show how powerful he is, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the nostalgia, and then R2 coming out.
Yeah, that was great. That's a great moment.
Was also great for anybody who's really a Star Wars fan. But I think that the negative aspect of this for me is they need to move beyond these cameos from the established characters, because I think the Mandalorian himself is such an interesting character that let it be about him.
Sure.
I think that the first season was so good because there was very little cameos from established characters, and if there was anything, it was almost like whispers.
Right.
There wasn't actual on-screen, very little on-screen direct callbacks or whatever. And I think that was what was strong about the first season. This season had so much more, hit the nostalgia beat so much more, and the action was far superior than the first season, I would say, overall. But we'll get into our thoughts about the season at large and moving forward on topic number 2. One of my favorite scenes, or one of my favorite little things, was when it was revealed that the Darksaber is whoever holds the Darksaber basically by defeating the previous owner, a la Harry Potter and the one wand. He's like, go ahead, I yield, whatever, take it, I don't care. That just kind of shows that he's not, as a character, sort of he just doesn't care about the lore of everything else that's going on, in Star Wars, all the Star Wars. He doesn't care. The Mandalorian doesn't care about Star Wars.
No.
He's just a guy trying to make it in the galaxy. I saw this. This was one of the quotes I saw somewhere online. He's just a guy trying to get his kid into a good preschool. You know what I mean? That's all he cares about. And that kind of resonated with me because he doesn't know, Luke freaking Skywalker strolls in and they're all like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
It kind of shows a little bit more of the general breadth of the whole galaxy rather than shrinking it down, where you have all these characters, one of which was a rebel trooper, and they're like, I don't know who this guy is. Who's this guy? So, that's kind of interesting, but I felt like that kind of showed his character a little bit. I yield, take it, I don't care.
And move on.
I thought that was really cool. But I think that in and of itself is going to be a major storyline moving forward for season 3.
Yeah, I mean, I do, when it ended, I was like, man, I am pumped. Where are we going now? That was actually one thing.
Right.
I immediately was like, this was really cool, but the whole thing was kind of a baby. It's sort of funny. The whole thing was a Baby Yoda show. You know what I mean? I don't want to. But now we've taken him away, and I'm sure that.
Let's just go ahead and get into. Let's get into number 2, which is the season wrap up, and then some questions hanging over the season moving forward. What happens between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan with the Darksaber? What's going to happen with Moff Gideon, who seems like he's going to be a prisoner of Cara Dune? she seems like she's going to be a major part of the Rangers of the New Republic show that's going to be coming out. When and how will we see Grogu again, and what is the Book of Boba Fett? So let's start from the back and start from the last one and work our way backwards. Initially, when the episode came out on Friday, and the end credits scene was Boba Fett and Fennec Shand strolling into Jabba's palace and taking out everybody, including Bib Fortuna, who had looked like he'd put on a few pounds since the Return of the Jedi.
Who hasn't? COVID.
And then, quarantine. He takes everybody out, sits down on the throne basically, and it says the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
December 21, and they had confirmed at the investors meeting that Mandalorian will debut Christmas 21. So everybody immediately panicked and said, "Is the show shifting?" And we had talked about this briefly in last week's episode, where I had said, "I wonder if we'll get something that's strictly Boba Fett," and you said you didn't want it. And then I had daddy duty, so we didn't get to expand upon that. But Jon Favreau came out and clarified that the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian Season 3 are not the same thing. They are going to be two separate things. The Book of Boba Fett sounds like it'll come first, and Mandalorian Season 3 will come slightly after that. Now, given the opportunity, why is it that you don't want to see a Boba Fett thing? And now that we know that it is happening, does that change your thoughts on it at all?
I think my thing was, I don't want to see a Boba Fett thing as part of this. I wanted the Mandalorian and Boba Fett to be separate. If we're going to get a separate Boba Fett thing, I'm going to watch it. Because I will watch any... I mean, I haven't watched all the animated things, but if you're going to give me, like, live action, I'm probably going to watch any Star Wars content, because I have watched Attack of the Clones 30 times.
A lot.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I will literally watch anything. And
29 times too many.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I am a glutton for punishment with Star Wars, even, and if this is singularly Boba Fett, I like that idea in a sense of, like, take me away to a different part of this. I just didn't want the Boba Fett thing to kind of, like, intertwine with the Mandalorian, because
Well, I think it is going to.
Well, I meant it wasn't going to be the show, is what I meant. I didn't want it to be
you didn't want Season 3 to
I didn't want Season 3 of The Mandalorian to be the Boba Fett.
Okay.
I wanted Season 3 of The Mandalorian to be The Mandalorian. And if the Boba Fett show is the Boba Fett show, and maybe, if there's some crossover, that's fine. I mean, I don't want, like, NBC with, Friends and, whatever show is failing, that kind of crossover. I don't want that kind of thing.
Sure.
But that's fine with me. I'm okay with it being two separate entities. I just didn't want it to be one.
Yeah. They've said that Rangers of the New Republic, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and I assume Boba Fett will all tie into each other.
Which only makes sense, too, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want it to be season 3.
They're building...
Because I really like...
Yeah, they're building towards a big crossover event.
Yeah,
like the Avengers or whatever. When and how will we see Grogu again?
Season 3.
You think he shows...
Season 3, Episode 1.
You think?
He is the most popular character in recent memory on any show. I can't tell you how many times you see, like, where I work at, which is very nerd-centric, just Baby Yoda stuff. And people will literally buy anything just because it has Baby Yoda on it. And, you're going to see him. Whether it's just a little bit, I don't know. But you're definitely going to see him, because to just strip that away, here's the thing. They didn't kill Chewbacca. You're not going to get rid of this character. I mean, this is just one of those things where, it's the Disney thing. And, I think Season 3, Episode 1, we get more of them. I don't know if we necessarily get Luke Skywalker in that, but we're probably, we're going to get... Because they could jump ahead. We don't know how far Season 3 goes ahead or anything like that, so...
I don't know. I think that we're going to get, in some form or another, we are going to get a show of Luke's Jedi Temple. Whether that's animated, whether that's live action, whether it's a mini-series, whether it's a series, whether it's a movie, I think we're going to get some type of content that's going to be Luke's Jedi Temple. Now, I saw online, it wasn't from what I would deem a credible source. It was just one of those, it was like Screen Rant or something. It wasn't like, IGN or Nerdist or anything like that. And it may have been confirmed since the time I saw it, I don't know. But they are approaching Sebastian Stan to play Luke Skywalker. They're trying to get Mark Hamill to sign off on it. Now, again, I don't know if that's true. It wasn't what I would deem a credible source. And so until I see that on a credible source, I'm not going to put any stock to it. But we talked about this, that we talked about how much he looks like young Luke Skywalker, and that he would play he also, it seems like he has the same type of demeanor to play that character. So I think it would be a good fit. But at the same time, I don't think that we're going to see Grogu straight away in Mandalorian Season 3. I just don't. He is, like you said, he's the most popular character, but at the same time, they're moving the story along. So let's tackle one of these other questions that kind of goes along with that, which is what's going to happen between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan in relation to the Darksaber, because the person who holds the Darksaber is the king or queen or lord or leader or whatever of Mandalore. So now this guy who really doesn't give a crap holds that key, and this chick who wants it is going to have to beat him in combat.
Well,
so this is, I think...
The show is called The Mandalorian.
Season 3. Yeah, it's not called...
Exactly. So I think... And just to go back real quick, I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it isn't Episode 1, Season 3. But that's just what I think will happen. Sure.
Well, I've been more wrong than right when it comes to this stuff.
As much as I love Star Wars and Marvel, a lot of times things are predictable with Disney.
Yeah, sure.
So that's just what it is, for better or worse. Like I said, it's called The Mandalorian. So some way, shape, or form. What I feel like is it's not going to be like Din Djarin does anything. I feel like somehow Bo-Katan, something weird happens.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji throws salt in the eyes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. There's something where it's like, it's not necessarily like Mando doing anything to like cause it, but just, this happens, and that's how it happens. Because you don't actually want to see it, but that's where I think it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's definitely, though, going to be... he did agree to, in the episode, he said, once I get the kid to his people, I'll help you. Yeah. So I think that's what the focus of Season 3 is going to be, is going to turn to that, them retaking Mandalore or reclaiming or whatever. So I'm certain we'll see more of those two in action together. What happens to Moff Gideon, who seems to be a prisoner of Cara Dune, and how will that maybe play into any of these shows? As far as, I don't think it's not going to be involved in the Book of Boba Fett at all. It might play a small role in The Mandalorian, but I think that this is going to be more of an ongoing thing for the Rangers of the New Republic show.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a thing that's going to be like in the passing through the whole season. And I kind of think he ends up like escaping somehow, obviously, and to carry things forward. That doesn't... Right. That just seems like a Star... That seems... Not even Star Wars. That just seems like an arc of a show that's like this, where, he's going to have his little thing. There's probably be like little parts of him every episode, and then he escapes from something stupid that you're like, oh, okay, here he got out. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I actually like things like that. But a lot of times you're just like, oh, you got to keep this guy going. So that's what I think.
I will say that the one thing that they kind of peppered in throughout the season, and we'll talk about the season as a whole now, but the one thing that they kind of peppered in throughout the season was these sort of outposts of the Empire who are still existing. And they are referring to the rebels or the New Republic or whatever as terrorists. And they talked a lot about bringing order back to the galaxy. And so I do think, in a sense, that they're also, while they are looking backwards a little bit with Boba Fett and Ahsoka, who was, Clone Wars period, and Luke, I also think that they're sowing the seeds of how the First Order comes to power in the sequel movies. So I think that they're looking back and they're drawing from the past and Star Wars past with the prequels in the original trilogy, but they're also kind of bridging that gap to what comes next in the canon, which is kind of a cool thing, that they're just leaving that trail of breadcrumbs a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, I think what this show does, and I think why we like it, and why really even the hardcore Star Wars people, is that this show knows what it's doing more than a lot of other Star Wars content we've got recently. It knows how to bridge a gap. It knows how to appeal to the really nerdy Star Wars people. It knows how to appeal to the people that just like Star Wars because it's fun. And, you know, and I think this is perfect for that kind of thing where it's just like, oh, we can go this direction that people who know Star Wars know what's going on. But if you don't, if you just watch it because, like, you know, your significant other watches it and you care about the characters for whatever reason, you know, it's not going to be like, oh my gosh, this is happening out of nowhere. You're still going to kind of understand what's going on, which I think is always good for things like this because not everyone that watches, I guarantee, I actually would probably say probably like 75% of the people who watch this are not even like big Star Wars nerds. Because that's just kind of how it is. The nerds of these kind of shows, like Marvel stuff and Star Wars, they're never the big nerds that are like the big things. They just kind of like, they like the idea of just the action or whatever. So I think that's what's going to happen with this is they know exactly what they're doing with this show. I think this show, more than anything in recent Star Wars lore, has really figured out that connection of bridging the gap of nerds, not nerds, but like Star Wars.
So this is where I've seen in various places online, Twitter, IGN, a couple other places, that there's a petition going around to have the sequels deleted, basically, like completely retconned from the canon, and allow Filoni and Favreau to redo the episodes 7, 8, and 9. I wouldn't hate that. It's not going to happen, but I wouldn't hate that. They should have just handed those guys the keys of the kingdom from the jump. I
was literally saying, I was screaming that when I was rewatching these. I was like, why didn't they just do this initially?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was like, I think part of it, and we'll get into this in part 2, but, you know, we're here so we can touch on it. I think a lot of it was J.J. Abrams did such a great job resurrecting Star Trek.
Yeah.
That it just kind of fit, or at least it seemed like it did on paper. But that's a whole nother thing, and we're going to get into that tomorrow night when we record. What just overall thoughts on the season?
I like where it ended up. It took a bit to get there. I liked season 1 more than I liked season 2. If you're just looking at the if you're looking at the whole grand scheme of things, I thought season 2 had better like episodes. Mm-hmm. But the season, maybe it was just because it was fresh and new to me too.
Sure.
You know, season 2 ended so strong, but I think ultimately, like, I'm not disappointed. I'll never say I'm disappointed in it, and nothing brought me down from it. I just think because the freshness of it, you know, and it just being different, and maybe the second season, I was like, maybe it's probably my own fault. I held the second season so high. I was like, oh, this is gonna completely blow me out of the water, just whatever. And it was really, really good. But it took like 5 episodes before I was like, oh, they found what they were doing here. Because the first episode was good, but then there was those middle episodes where I was just like, oof.
Episodes 2 and 3 weren't great. I would say none of the episodes of this season were as poor as episode 6.
True. Yeah.
That episode, the jailbreak episode where Bill Burr's character is first introduced, Mayfield, I remember watching that and thinking, I feel like I'm watching Wishbone does Star Wars in that episode. And there wasn't anything that was that poor in the second season. The second episode was very slow. Mm-hmm. And the third episode, they introduced Bo-Katan, and it was a little bit more interesting. But after that, I thought that things were pretty consistently fast-paced, high-octane. The only episode that really slowed down at all was maybe episode 7, where they did the thing with Mayfield, which is ironic that he's in my 2 least episodes.
I just don't think Bill Burr is good in this. I've said it before.
I liked him more than I liked, or his episode this season I liked more than episode 2, and I also liked it more than episode 4, which was the Carl Weathers, Horatio Sands, Cara Dune episode.
I didn't. And maybe it's just my own. I also just don't think Bill Burr's that funny just in general. I think he gets by a lot on just being a Bostonian, which I'm, whatever. So maybe that's just my own. It's a lot of this is just in my own head where it's just like, okay, I've heard this bit before, and I get tired of it.
I think the thing with that episode for me was that it was the episode after Boba Fett showed up, and I was still riding high on just him being around in general. So him being around and doing stuff and blowing up the TIE fighters and flying Slave One was good enough for me. And it's kind of the same in reverse for me with episode 4 was the Horatio Sand stuff just was like Horatio sandpaper.
Oh.
It just rubbed me all kinds of the wrong ways, and I didn't like it.
I get that.
I thought that it was way overdone, and it just was not what I was looking for. But I still really liked that episode 4. So really, the only episode that didn't do it for me was episode 2. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed. I remember we talked about episode 5, the Jedi, which was when Ahsoka showed up. We were like, this is awesome. This is the best Star Wars we've gotten in almost 30 years, or almost 40 years even since Jedi. And then the next episode came out, and I texted you because I watched it. I'm 3 hours ahead of you, and I watched it early. I texted you. I'm like, no, this episode's even better than that episode, and that was the one where Boba Fett showed back up. And then the last episode was great with the whole thing with Luke and everything. But I think it's kind of a paradox because I want there to be. I think having the lesser known characters is really cool and strong and makes the show what it is. But at the same time, when you have those cameos like Boba Fett and Luke and R2, even though R2, whatever, it just makes it all the more, when it's done right, it makes it all the more magical.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, the first episode still might be my favorite of the season. It was so good.
It was great. I think, too, for me, it's just, maybe it's just the season 1 thing where it's like we were so let down by the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah, sure.
That, like, coming into it where it's like, oh, more Star Wars. But
we got Mandalorian before Last Jedi.
I guess we did. Maybe it's just in my head. Yeah. It was just in my head of, like, that happened and...
Or, I'm sorry, Rise of
Skywalker, right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just in my head where it's like, that was good, and I just loved that we had good Star Wars content. And since I knew we had good Star Wars content, and then going to... It's not, I mean, this is a razor-thin thing. Like, if we're just comparing seasons, like, out of 10, it's like 8.3, 8.5. I don't even... what I mean? Like, it's very, like, I love this show, and the fact that it doesn't get nominated for anything kind of just pisses me off. Because it's great, and it's just because I don't even know, because the shows that get nominated and win things, I'm like, yeah, no one watches those shows. Great, thanks for telling us.
Speaking of shows that don't get nominated for things,
well, this should be nominated for Oscars.
Number 3, the challenge and review, the bread and butter of the BXG these days, especially now with Mandalorian on the shelf. For who knows how long. Well, at least about 12 months. But we'll have WandaVision here in a couple weeks. But anyway, the challenge and review. Having been left with a cliffhanger, we see Natalie choose to stay with Wes. Maneuvering continues in the house politics. In this episode's challenge, the teams have to swim through freezing water, retrieve ice blocks with kills, return to shore, break the ice, and retrieve the kill and put it in another team's slot. Once the team has 3 kills, they're out. Wes and Natalie are targeted immediately and are eliminated first, and the rest of the teams allow Fessy and Anissa to win. At deliberation, Joseph makes a bold move of saying he wants Wes in the elimination. The House, not wanting to get dirt of voting Wes back into the elimination on their hands, decides to vote Joseph. Not knowing the double agents can see who voted for whom, many teams decide to lie to Anissa and Fessy, causing the pair to choose to send Kyle to face Joseph. After a physical beatdown of the De'Aaron Fox lookalike, Kyle chooses to break up the alliance by picking Cam as his new partner. Josh chooses Nani after a few tears are shed, and subsequently Big T is paired with CT, who was a non-factor in the episode due to waiting for a new partner. Previews for next week's episode show Josh and CT having a blow-up, which will almost certainly end with Josh crying.
This episode was incredible. Yeah. This was... beginning to end, one of my favorite challenge episodes in a really, really long time. So much drama for a second episode. I'm not gonna just read down my thing, but right off the beginning, we just get Joseph doing his ab thing, which was because he's doing nothing. He's I just did and they're all making fun of him, which is great.
Yeah.
And Joseph sucks, which I also love. I love how bad he just is, and like how he's on the show. He was
slept the whole first episode.
He's was in America's Got Talent. Is that?
Yeah.
Was his talent not paying attention? Because I think that's like the guy lifted 0 weights to prepare for this thing is not athletic at all. It was hilarious. I'm going to give my biggest takeaways. Lolo Jones, still dumb.
Motorcycles.
She's
yeah.
literally...
No. Joseph, that was his talent.
Oh, motorcycles. I don't know.
Jumping motorcycles.
That's not a talent, so that's stupid. And it was not paying attention, because he's great at that. Lolo Jones just continuing the dumb streak is one of my favorite storylines in any show ever. She just gets worse. It's just like, it's so great. The actual stuff that actually happened that mattered in this show, I did not care about. The let's get the kills. Janie just walked in. She says, "What are they killing?" I go, "Tubes." Yeah. They're killing tubes. Yeah. I don't know. And I also feel like it's so funny to me, and I say this every year I watch this show. Does anyone actually know how the show works? The people that have been doing it for years? Because I actually don't think they do.
Johnny Bananas
He does. He's literally, it's like...
That's why he's won 6
right,
times.
Exactly. He's the only one that actually understands how the show works. You don't try to send in weak people ever. Like, that's stupid. Right. You want to keep weak people at the end so that you can defeat them at the end and win this thing. That's what he knows that no one else seems to actually know. It's like, let's send in Joseph because I want to make sure that, Big T gets a better person. Like, why would you do that ever? Joseph is crap. He literally is doing these weird... he's showing himself to you, to the face. He's so bad at this. You want to keep him as around as possible. I don't understand this. Right. It's like the worst competition ever. It's literally like saying, like, you know what? Let's pretend we could put the Jets in the playoffs. And yet, it's like the Rams are like, oh, if we put the Jets in the playoffs, that'll be good for them. And then they lost. It's the same thing. I don't understand. The people on the show who have been on the show for so long are so stupid. And maybe it's the steroids. I don't know. But it's insane how stupid everyone is on this show.
I have... do you have more?
I could go... Like I said, this could be the podcast. But I'll let you go.
Well, I have a few questions.
Yeah, let's go.
I have Melissa B writes in and asks, what was Kyle wearing in those confessionals? He looks like he should be selling selling rings at a mall jewelry store.
It's so true. Like low quality. Right?
Why are they wearing suits?
Why?
Like he's wearing a suit. Fessy looks like he's showing up in the green room for the draft. He never got drafted in.
What's so funny to me is like I wrote my show notes during the show. This is just it's the thing I'm very in on my show notes on this.
Right.
My thing is that they either dress like that or they dress like teenagers. Like they don't know how to just dress like a normal 20-year-old person.
Just some of them are older than me.
Right. I think half of them are older than us. And they're like, let me just wear this. I mean, I understand they get Under Armour stuff for free. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But they're also just...
CT's 40.
Right. Yeah. It's insane how badly they look all the time. But they're not even wearing... Like, the Under Armour stuff, that's fine. But, like, sometimes it's just, like, they either look like they're dressing, like you said, like they're selling rings at a mall, or they haven't made a dime since they were, like, 13. And they're just... The clothing choices are terrible. This is why I love this show, though. Because you're watching a bunch of idiots try to win money, and, like, only 3 of them actually understand what's going on. And this is why I love Natalie and why I said Natalie earlier. She understands it because she has done this kind of thing before in a totally different thing. Now she gets to eat food. Although there's pastries on the table that nobody ate. That's just a disgrace.
Okay, next question. Fessy. This one's not written down.
Yeah.
This is my question.
Oh, I thought that was just Fessy question mark.
For you. Fessy. We get to the elimination, and there's a ring in the middle, and there's open sand.
Yep.
And the size difference between Fessy and Joseph is roughly about the same size difference between you and me.
It's so stupid. Oh no, we're getting into.
He's like, I don't know, TJ, that looks pretty janky. I'm going to stay out of it.
What's he think? There's just gonna be like a math book that comes out of the sand? He's so stupid. But that's the point. That's literally the thing. He's so...
Kyle called him on
it. Yeah, and I love it. And what's funny is I didn't really like Kyle that much. I liked how he called people out. This is more what the show's about.
Yeah.
But Fessy is so stupid. And that's where, like, every time he's like, he's the strongest guy in the room. He's the strongest guy in the room. He is also the dumbest person on the earth. So when you combine those things, it makes it so much tougher to get through this. There's nothing else there. Of course, this is going to be a physical battle, and you're like, no, Joseph, who isn't even smart either.
No.
So like, you're literally thinking, like, what do you think you can get the skull as our boy TJ Lavin calls it, the skull. He really gets into that. Like, I would have taken on Joseph. And I'm confident I would have won. I have no idea. Like, there's no chance I would have lost to Joseph at all. And Fessy's like,
so the folks who are listening to this, and they don't know necessarily, the challenge and eliminations and stuff like that. So these competitors, and I use that term extremely loosely. These competitors have to do these different elimination challenges. And oftentimes, there'll be a ring of sand, and in the middle of it will be an object, and the objective is to wrestle that object away from the other person. So in this scenario, and we're saying, we're comparing apples to oranges in terms of size, and I said the difference between Fessy and Joseph, size-wise, is the difference between you and me.
I'm a $135 soaking wet.
And what, like 5'8"?
5'9", 5'10".
5'9".
We'll say, okay. I don't know.
So you're 5'9", $135, you said?
Yeah. Okay. Soaking wet.
I'm 6'3", and I weigh 255 pounds. You're literally half of me.
That's insane to think about.
And the reality of it is that the tandem that we're describing here, Joseph is probably about 6'1", 180.
Yeah.
America's Got Talent for riding dirt bikes, not paying attention, and falling asleep at the drop of a hat. Against Fessy, who's probably 6'5", 280 pounds of solid muscle, and played Division I tight end.
Right.
And Fessy was like, nah, TJ, looks janky. What am I gonna have to draw a map of the United States in the sand?
Don't ask me for a state capital.
If he would have went down there and grabbed this ring, he would have torn this kid's arms literally out of their sockets like a Wookiee.
Right. It's just, I don't understand. Like, most of the time with these kind of things where you're like, oh, you can go in and why wouldn't you do it if you're like a physically superior person? Because even sometimes when like another mind game is involved, still being stronger helps. Because if you're just stronger and you can just beat the person to whatever it is, you just have a little bit more time to figure it out.
I want to see...
Now, I don't know if Fessy can figure out anything, but still.
Do you remember the challenge between, this was a couple seasons ago, Bananas and Devin with the light bulbs?
I think a
giant wall.
Oh, yeah. Yes, the giant wall of light bulb. Yes.
Turn them off, whatever. It was just totally mind game.
Yeah.
I mean, minus the fact of running back and forth, like you said. I'd like to see Wes against Fessy in, something that involves a riddle.
Oh, my God.
Because it's over.
Yeah. I mean, if it's Wes against Fessy and anything that involves, like, a little bit of physicality, but mostly mind games, it is literally going to be like Stephen Hawking versus a dog. I mean, it's going to be such a mask, which is what I'm rooting for. I can't stand Fessy. I, literally can't stand how stupid he is. I don't like his attitude. I just feel like most Division I tight ends are just people you don't want to hang out with ever. They're literally they're
Aaron Hernandez.
They're one step above. Well, they're one step above lacrosse players in college. I mean, just I won't say it. Lacrosse players are actually not. I'm gonna go rugby players. That's what I'll say. They're the rugby players where it's just there's a lot of maybe there's some friendliness in there, but mostly they just want to beat everyone up.
Yeah, sure.
And that's all Fessy wants to do. But he doesn't understand that that's part of this game is actually like beating people up in a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it'd be really funny if there's like a challenge where like he declines to do it and it's catch footballs. I think that would be incredible.
I think
TJ just throws passes over the middle. And he's like, I don't know about this. Seems a little janky.
All right, well, it seems a little janky. We're gonna run post routes.
I only know how to run seams.
Sluggo, hot route. I think we're gonna get. I think there's gonna be a hall brawl, and he's gonna do that.
Yeah, there'll be a hall brawl.
But the thing about hall brawls is, if you remember, I'm trying to go back now. Jenny, the rather stout lady, young lady, who won last season, 2 seasons ago, lost to Tori in a hall brawl, who's quite a bit smaller than her. So anything can happen. I wouldn't mind seeing like Fessy and CT in a hall brawl or in any kind of physical thing.
I'll tell you right now, CT's winning.
Yeah, because CT's got that angry old man strength at this point.
Old man strength? He just probably knows how to fight, though. Like, there's one thing about being a tight end. Like, there's a big difference between being, like, a football player and then being someone who actually just knows how to fight.
Right.
CT has been in more brawls than, it's like, he just knows what he's doing. And I'll take him any day of the week in a fight. Until he's probably, like, 55, I'll take him every day.
Yeah. Okay. Predict why Josh and CT get into an altercation in the next episode.
It's going to be something so stupid. It almost feels like it's going to be... This is going to sound really dumb. It's going to be like going to use the shower. I'm not even joking.
I'm making my Josh face.
Like, I think it's almost like somebody wants to use the shower or something. Something like just going to use something, and they're like fighting over it, and then it becomes a brawl. Because that's every single brawl in there. It's never actually something real. It's like, oh, I was supposed to have the last cookie. Why did you have the last cookie? And then it becomes a fight because they're all on steroids. And I can't say that enough. Except for Natalie, who is my favorite person on this show. I love her. I have it. One of my show notes is Natalie is my best friend forever. I love her.
Wow.
I think
she's a good time.
She knows what she's doing. It's amazing when you know what you're doing.
She called out Joseph, and she did the same thing on her first season of Survivor. Fun fact, Survivor trivia headed your way. To John Rocker of Atlanta Braves fame.
Whoa.
Yeah, she did the same thing, like almost word for word.
I love it.
So there's that.
There's just something to say about just knowing what you're doing on this show.
Yeah.
We said with Johnny Bananas, but and also with Wes.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Because people always go after the people that are good at this show.
Here's my thing, and this is, I have it in here. Brenton B writes in with a question.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. CT's won 3 of these things. Everybody wants to get him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wes has won 2. Everybody wants to get him out. How come nobody's saying Darrell's name? He's won 4.
Yeah, I would say he's won 4, right? Yeah. Because he's so nice.
Is he?
He's a fake nice.
I just think that he just is I don't want to say plays the middle, but he kind of plays the middle.
He does kind of play the middle.
He's not friends with anybody. He's not.
He's also like, you ever think about? He's never on camera.
Never.
You never see. I forgot he was on the show this week, and then he showed up near the end, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, Darrell's in this season."
Yeah.
He's really good at this game.
He's got, do you know what he's really good at? He's really good at the challenges.
Right. Yeah.
He's not necessarily so good at like the politicking and relationships part, because he's got like a real life.
You know what? That stuff not important. Actually, I don't think it's that important. It's just about winning things. Like Paul,
I will say,
because you don't know if this is one of those keys of the show. Is that like people don't know that you can lie, and then like the people actually can see that you're lying about it, which is hilarious to me.
That out.
Yeah, and they find that out, and it'll be.
Yeah. I will say that I didn't think it was a quote unquote politically wise decision for Wes to approach Corey and Fessy and basically say, "Hey, listen, if you guys need somebody to do the thinking for you, I can do that because you're morons."
That was awesome.
I mean, it's true. It's
I loved it.
True.
I also enjoyed his line where he's like, I love his line where he's like, "I am indeed rich."
Yeah. That was good too.
That was great. I was thinking if I have anything. Fessy's scared of math. I always have that. That's just gonna be I think that's gonna be a constant theme for me.
Right. Set it. And forget it.
My favorite thing about the show was when we couldn't understand what Nicole was saying at all, and they like broke it down because she just doesn't speak English.
What did Devin say?
It's just like I have no idea what the
my partner's my partner's a physically fit toddler.
Yeah, it's a physically fit toddler. I have no idea what she's saying. It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I paused the show because I was like, I have to, like, really think about what she's trying to say. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I still think Natalie's going to win.
Fun fact about Nicole, this is a real random one. She was one of the sisters in an episode of Say Yes to the Dress. Don't ask me why I know that.
She's probably from New Jersey. I don't really know her background.
She's New York.
Same.
New
York.
Nah. New York.
Her accent is thick.
Yeah.
7 C's.
She has a different occupation every season that she's on the show.
There's no way she's held a job for more than 8 months.
But they're always like the one episode she's like, I'm a firefighter. The next episode it was I'm a police officer. And it's just something different. I don't know what she is this season.
She loves enforcement.
EMT. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. John K writes in, where does Alton rank in the list of all-time challenge greats?
Greatest athlete ever to be on the show.
Probably.
And I don't care about people being Division I athletes. That
like
man. I'll still take Alton. Alton was like, I mean, that guy was cut from stone. I loved Alton. What happened?
I remember climbing. Like, he came back on a season that was like maybe Battle of the Seasons, and his heart just wasn't in it. You could just tell he just wasn't.
I mean, that was always kind of a thing with him. Was like he was an amazing athlete, but he didn't have a lot of like. I mean, it's probably one of those things where he wasn't actually a pro athlete. He probably just didn't have the motive. Because man, when he showed it.
Yeah.
What an animal. What a great
I remember an elimination challenge where the objective was to climb up a cargo net.
Yes.
And like ring a bell.
Yeah.
And he jumped halfway up it.
Yeah, he just said, oh yeah, I'm Spider-Man. Don't worry about it. I got this.
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah. Best athlete ever on the show, just didn't have his heart in it. I think most of the time.
Yeah, I don't know. Darrell's a pretty solid athlete.
Darrell's a great athlete, yeah. Wes is a really good athlete. People forget that. Like, he's the best swimmer ever to be on this show.
That's true. It's probably
because I think he was a Division I swimmer.
Maybe. He's very pale.
And he's a ginger, and people don't trust gingers, nor should you.
No. Right.
Nor should you.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
And you're a ginger, you have no soul.
It's a fact.
That's just that. So we appreciate the questions. Next week, I believe, will be, unless they pull some kind of an okie doke, next week will be a girls' elimination. So we'll see what happens.
No concerns from my girl, Natalie. I'll tell you that right now.
I would be perfectly fine with them getting rid of half of these nondescript British girls. I don't care about them.
I literally hate everyone as the girls except for Natalie. I cannot stand any of them. I can't think of anyone else I like other than Natalie. Oh, no, no. I have a show note. I think I have... Nope, my show note. No, I like Nani. I like her. Fine.
I like Big T.
Big T's fine. She's funny. I like Nani. I like Nani though. I think it's because
Nani's a mess.
She's a mess.
That's the thing about Nani is she's.
You know who would have loved Nani back in the day? 27-year-old Greg.
Yeah, sure.
Oh boy.
She's had to have been around since then.
I just never met her. That would have been something else.
Yeah.
27-year-old Greg. What a
All right, we're gonna move on to. We're gonna move on to number 4.
We should.
So what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna introduce our method of reviewing things that are new. I don't know what's funny about that.
Just thinking about this review.
Oh, yeah. So I don't think that scores, like giving a thing a score, is useful because to me, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, the first one, not the second one. Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy is a 10 out of 10 comedy. And Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, is a 10 out of 10 drama. Do I think that Ron Burgundy is as good of a movie as Lincoln, even though I would both give them 10 out of 10s? No.
Yes.
Not at all.
Oh.
Not at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a scale of one of three things, which is rent, buy, or pass. So you can rent things off of Prime for $3.99 or whatever, and I think Redbox is still a thing. There's one at the local Walmart. So rent, buy, pass is what we're going to do for new things when we review them in the moment. So the first thing that we're going to do with that is going to be Tenet, which is Christopher Nolan film that was much maligned this year, went to theaters. They delayed it. They didn't want to kick it out to VOD, but with the pandemic, they ended up doing theaters and then not doing very well at the box office, at least domestically. I think it did better internationally than it did here. But we're going to go into things a little bit, and I think that the way that we'll do this is kind of the same way that we sort of broach the Star Wars movies, which is just going to kind of be to talk about the main characters, and then I feel like we can get a sense of, we're not going to get a sense of what, the audience isn't going to get a sense of what this movie's about, because I don't have a sense of what this movie's about,
No.
and I watched it for 2.5 hours.
I watched the ending, the last 30 minutes 3 times last night. I still have no idea what happened.
Right. So there's a lot going on, and I did take some notes as well for this. But we have the protagonist is the main character. His title of the movie is The Protagonist. He's never given a name, and that's John David Washington, and that is the son of Denzel Washington. And if you can't tell in the first 3 minutes when he tells the guy who they're trying to recover from the Opera siege, I forget exactly what the quote is. It's something like, you have 3 minutes, you decide. It sounded like Denzel.
Yeah.
It sounded like Denzel.
Close your eyes. Yeah.
Yes. Creepy almost. Neil, played very capably by Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
Kat, the wife of Sator. So Kat was played by Elizabeth Debicki, and Sator, who's the main antagonist of the film, is played by Kenneth Branagh. And then Ives, who's played by Aaron Taylor Johnson of Avengers: Age of Ultron fame. He was Quicksilver. And if I hadn't have looked it up, I wouldn't have known that they were the same guy, because he was pretty beefy in this.
Yeah.
And he didn't have like the long stringy hair. He was a soldier basically, crop top and all that stuff. So those are kind of the main players. There are maybe a few other bit characters. Michael Caine shows up for about 47 seconds, and
cup of
a couple
tea.
other characters. Yeah, cup of tea.
I had a cup of tea.
Yeah. So basically, I'm gonna do my best to explain. Spoilers for Tenet, headed your way, but I'm going to do my best to explain the plot of this movie. So the protagonist is inducted into this organization called Tenet, and his job is to try to find out how to stop World War III. And there's a weapon that's being passed around where bullets and objects can go backwards in time because their entropy is inverted. And so basically, bullets that have already been fired will go back into the chamber of the gun, etc. So they're trying to get their hands on these different artifacts that go to this algorithm. And Kenneth Branagh's character is like continuously manipulating behind the scenes, and he's able to go forwards and backwards in time. And it's just, like, the action was cool. All the action was cool. But the plot, and I get the whole like forward and backwards in time, and I understood that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the nuts and bolts of it that didn't make a ton of sense to me. And the audio seemed muffled. I don't know if it did for you as well when you watched it. And that seems to be like a thing with Nolan movies. That like the audio's not always crystal clear. I mean, everybody everybody points to Bane from Dark Knight Rises, but I think that was even an issue at times in Inception and Interstellar. Yeah. I will say,
I think that's a thing, though. I think he actually does it intentionally.
Yeah, he does it on purpose.
Yeah,
he does it on purpose. I saw an interview where he said that. Those movies, Interstellar and Inception, and a lot of people have said that this is almost like a sequel or a spiritual sequel to Inception. As crazy as they are, those movies, the quote unquote science behind them was spelled out a little bit more. And the reason in both of those movies, I think that you had Elliot Page's character in Inception was almost like the audience surrogate, asking all of the questions that made what they were doing make sense, as far as the dream within a dream and the architecture and how they create things and how it's a maze and things like that. In Interstellar, it was sort of Anne Hathaway's character was the audience surrogate, asking the questions of what's going on and explaining things to Matthew McConaughey as this is what's happening, these are the goals. There really wasn't that character in this movie. And I think that was missing because me as the audience was... And the other thing is, and I have it in my notes, is the movie moves so fast for the first 30 to 45 minutes that there wasn't time to slow down and really kind of get all of this and, hey, okay, now it makes sense. Like I said, I understood something in the future past these items back, and this is how bullets and things like that can go forward in time. And then even the people, when they came back through what was called the turnstile that inverted them, and they were able to move forward and backwards while they were fighting. But the whole, the algorithm, and if Sator dies, the whole world goes with him sort of thing, I didn't get that as crystal clear as maybe I would have liked to.
I think it goes back to, when I joked around about in the intro of the show about, when Kat says, don't try to understand it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I watched the ending 3 times last night, the last 30 minutes, trying to figure out. I didn't care, though. I did it just because, because we're recording this.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it's just the Christopher Nolan nut in me. I don't know. I loved it. I love there's something about his movies, whether it's Batman or Batman, and Inception. It's just, I love the way he films movies. I love that, he's the smartest guy in the room doing the movies, which is cool. I love, this is just going to sound like whatever, I'm watching a Queen Elizabeth movie. I love the fashion in this movie. I like everybody wearing really cool suits or just cool outfits whenever even they went, when they weren't suits. I thought that was cool. John David Washington was great. Robert Pattinson should be nominated for an Oscar for this movie.
Very good.
He should be nominated for an Oscar, and I will fight people if he isn't, because he's so good in this. That little it's a little snarky. It's a little I'm smarter than you. People always joke around it, everybody, there's always one character in every Christopher Nolan movie that has, Christopher Nolan hair.
Yeah.
But I think what it is that there's always a character that is Christopher Nolan in all these movies. Sure. And I think that's him. And it's he's the smartest guy in the room. His ending scene is so good.
The end was wild.
The end was so wild. It was just
the thing was for as much as I didn't understand a lot of it, I did understand the end.
Yeah.
Where he said, you recruited me in the past.
Yeah.
Future you recruited me in the past, and you are the organization.
You are the organization.
I got
that. But I was trying to figure out, how we got to that was basically my thing with the end. Like I said, maybe it's just the Christopher Nolan. I thought this movie was great. I mean, it's a buy for me for a couple of reasons. It's a buy for me because I just think it's a cool movie, and also you just can't really do a lot right now. It's $20.
Yeah, sure.
You go and see this with your partner, or you go and even if you go see this by yourself and you buy yourself some popcorn when you can go, that still costs more.
Yeah.
But then you can just keep rewatching it and try to you can play it. This is what I did. I was bored and I was let me just keep going. Not even bored. I'm doing this for the show. And I just keep rewatching. I would pause it. I would go back 5 minutes. I probably watched the movie's 2.5 hours. I probably watched almost 4 hours of this movie last night, trying to break it down. And there isn't someone explaining it that much. I kept telling myself no one's explaining it, but I don't really care. And it's and at the end I was and a lot of people asked me because I told people today, I was I watched Tenet last night, and they're what'd you think? I was I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought of the movie, but I liked it. I don't know if in whether it's the Christopher Nolan part or whether it's Robert Pattinson. And John David Washington's awesome in it too. I mean, I'm not putting him aside. It's just that Robert Pattinson, who's been everyone thinks of Twilight, but I've seen him in other movies that I really like him in. Sure. Good Time and the Lighthouse. It's he's a beacon of light in this movie where you're just holy crap, he's really good. The movie's weird, but sometimes that's good. sometimes I don't like things when they're just cut and dry.
Sure.
And this was that perfect example of like, it's not cut and dry. And it was almost kind of like it sounds weird, but this is like the perfect movie for 2020 where it's like, yeah, it was weird. And the ending's kind of like, it makes sense because we have come to an ending with things, but like, man, that was a weird stretch to get there.
Yeah. Just a couple other things that I wrote down that I wanted to touch on. The music I thought was great.
Incredible.
It really helped build the tension. And I think I looked it up because I wanted to be able to speak on it. The guy who did the music was Ludwig Göransson, and I feel like he's going to be like the next John Williams, Hans Zimmer. Let me give you a little bit of his catalog other than Tenet. He does all the music for The Mandalorian. He won an Oscar for Black Panther. He has produced all 4 studio albums for Childish Gambino.
Okay, so he is the next guy.
So Ludwig Göransson looks like he should be writing symphonies in the 1500s, but he's a younger guy, I think. And he's basically, Nolan usually uses Hans Zimmer. He wasn't available, so he got this fella. He does all of Ryan Coogler's movies, so he did the Creed movies also. So the music was great. The truck scene where they boxed in the armored vehicle was pretty awesome. It reminded me of the story that we were talking about with the carjackers stealing the PlayStations and the Xboxes in England a couple weeks ago. I wrote down that Robert Pattinson's great. Here's the other thing, and this was I looked this up because I know Christopher Nolan is very big on using practical effects instead of CG. There were 300 visual effects shots in this movie, which is less than your standard romantic comedy. Just for comparison, Inception had 500 and Avengers Endgame had 2,000. So, they bought a 747 so that they could crash it. It was all real.
And that
it was the same thing as great. That scene's great both times. But
both times, yeah.
He's big on actually doing it. They actually flipped an 18-wheeler in Dark Knight. They actually do these things. And I think that it gives the movies a little bit more visual credibility, which is great. For me, this is I'm a Nolan geek as well. Obviously the Batman movies are, sacred ground, but I'm also a huge fan of Inception and a huge fan of Interstellar. And this movie, good as it was, and the action was great. And the other thing that I wrote down was the cheese grater in the kitchen fight.
Oh yeah,
which was an interesting choice. But because this movie falls behind Inception and Interstellar, and a big reason why for me is just like I said, that lack of character who's maybe explaining things out to the audience so that we have some semblance of an idea of to make sense of all this, other than, okay, things are moving forward in time, backwards in time, and the action's cool. It's going to be a rent for me. I would say rent this whenever it's available to rent for $3.99 on Amazon Prime, just because of I just don't think that it holds up to those particular films. So it's a rent for me.
I don't disagree with you. I think for me it was just like I said with the buy, it was just like so you can kind of rewatch it to try to figure things out.
Yeah, sure.
I would think that would be my biggest thing. I mean, those movies are better, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because
we're allowed to disagree, Greg.
Right? No, I know. And now I'm I was thoroughly involved. I just sat my phone down last night. I didn't even do the thing where you scroll. You know what I mean? I was I texted you guys. I was I texted you guys and it's Inception time. Maybe the first 5 minutes I texted you guys and I was nope, I am done with this guy. I'm done with this phone. We're off here. We were watching and it was just I had to pause it a couple times just to do but it was full on pauses, not oh, I'm gonna go to the kitchen, have it on in the background, hear what's going on. Right. It's no, I have to see what's going on. And I'm a sucker for fashion in movies, and so when people would dress cool, that just makes me more excited. And John David Washington wore really, but the Robert Pattinson suits were so cool, and it was and you can't tell what year this is, which I really like that too. I thought that was really cool. Whereas This could have been late
Well, that's another
90s, or it could have
thing
been
that's
like now.
It's pretty common with his
Yeah.
movies, other than Dunkirk, which was
Right.
obviously a period piece. But
Right.
I will say this, Greg: you look the part, you sound the part, but you're gonna have to do better than Brooks Brothers. Number 5. I did get my hands, as I mentioned, on a PS5. I was able to pick that up on Saturday. And so I just wanted to give some of my just initial hands-on impressions. Now, I will say that I've only played 2 games so far. The first one was the packing game Astro's Playroom, which is really just it's like a tech demo for the controller, the DualSense controller. I have the machine itself as well as the controller. I'm going to show you this just to kind of give you an idea of you, obviously, not the listener. The listener is unable to see this. The DualSense controller is kind of the main thing with Astro's Playroom. It's a 3D platformer in the same vein as like Mario 64. And basically the premise of the game is it takes you you play 4 levels, and those 4 levels are the PS1, the PS2, the PS3, and the PS4. And there's like little Easter eggs in each level of little Astrobots like dressed up as Crash Bandicoot, and there's like Cloud's sword from Final Fantasy VII, and there's like like an Uncharted thing, and the whole way, Ratchet and Clank, all this stuff. The music's real weird. I never thought that I would enjoy a song in a game about a solid state hard drive, but they managed to pull that off. It's really fun, but it takes I got the platinum trophy in it, and it takes like maybe 4 or 5 hours. The other game that I've been playing, which was a PS Plus game, so I'm using the same sort of scale for reviewing games, except I'm not going to use rent because nobody rents games anymore. I mean, you still can with like GameFly or whatever, but in this case, I'm going to use buy it on sale or pass. So the other game that I've been playing, which for me was free because it was a PS Plus game, is Bugsnax. And it's kind of like, Bugsnax is like, I feel like, and I'm not advocating for this, but if you gave a 7-year-old LSD, Bugsnax is what would happen. So it's just weird and very colorful, and you feed these gremlin or these like weird looking stuffed animal, like Where the Wild Things Are creatures, these bugs they're all different food. So it's like a bug of a hamburger, and it's called a bunger, and it just walks around and goes bunger 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 bunger.
I love that.
And then the character's arm or whatever turns into like a hamburger. It's just weird, but it's fun. So I haven't played any games that really show off the might, if you will, of these machines as far as like making games really pretty and having them run fast. I will say both games that I've played run incredibly fast. There's like no load times.
That's awesome.
Bugsnax, you hit start and you're in it within 5 seconds. The thing that I can't get over is the size of the machine. And I mentioned it briefly when we got off topic in the Star Wars episode, but I just want to show you this thing.
It's so big.
It's really
That's what she
big.
said.
I feel like when I carry this around that it should have like commandments written on it.
I was gonna say you have
Like
to make
it's
sure the head's good. You don't want to make sure the head doesn't topple over.
It's
crazy big.
It's like Lady Liberty's.
It's a starship from Star Wars. It's some sort of ship, right? It flies.
It's an air purifier or a tower
It's
fan.
crazy. I mean, you have that much.
It's really large.
Yeah. That's great.
Now the controller itself. Here's a PS4 controller. I'm going to show it to you just for size comparison. PS4, you have the touchpad and you have the standard R2 L2 triggers. So here's the DualSense. It too is a little bit beefier than the PS4, the DualShock 4.
At least not an Xbox controller, which I had no idea what I'm doing when I hold those things.
Well, the Xbox controller is still somehow as big as this, but so the main thing with these things, and this is shown off really well in the Astro's Playroom game, is that the triggers in the back have springs in them.
That's cool.
And so when you're gripping things or whatever, they become harder to push. And another aspect is, so like one of the levels in Astro's Playroom, there's wind and it's coming like right to left. So instead of just feeling a rumble like you would in any standard DualShock prior to this controller, you feel it across the controller. So if the wind's going right to left, you feel it go right to left across the controller. So the Dual Sense is the name of it, and that's what it's trying to give you. It's trying to make you feel those different senses. I'm really excited. I'm going to get Spider-Man Miles Morales here this weekend. So that's going to be, the first game that I have that kind of pushes the system and shows what it can do. But so I'm excited for that.
Are you going to get the NBA game where like people get tired? You're going to feel that?
We'll see if maybe, because I know I'm going to get gift cards.
Sure.
And we'll see if I have enough left over.
Imagine if
both.
like on the baseball game, and you're throwing from the outfield and Juan Pierre got the ball. And, like, the button was just, like, trying to push on, like on stone. You're just trying to push stone in the ground because that's trying to throw a baseball.
Like Juan Pierre. Yeah. So that's really, at this time, the only other thing that I really have to say about the PS5 was just because of all the backwards compatibility stuff. I did hook it up with an Ethernet cable straight into my PS4 today to transfer over some of the games that I want to mess around with, and it was very easy, so that was fine. But we have some more gaming news, and that comes from Cyberpunk 2077, which Sony pulled off both the PS4 and the PS5 PSN storefronts until further notice, and are offering full refunds to anyone who purchased the game digitally off their storefronts. Microsoft seems to be following suit, and the developers in a Zoom call had it out with the suits at CD Projekt Red. And CD Projekt Red, who self-published the game, could be dealing with a class action lawsuit from lawyers and investors who are accusing the studio of misrepresentation in order to receive financial benefits. And the latest is that if your save is too big, it can become permanently corrupted and delete your game. This game, so let me give just a little bit of background in terms of like the lawsuit thing. Was when they sent it out to reviewers, they only sent PC copies. And so the PC, it runs fine. It's a little bit buggy, but the console versions are, as I said in last week's episode, just a garbage truck on fire. I want to show you if I can find one of the... Okay, this is going to be this is going to be what they showed at E3, and it's running on a PC, on a high-end PC, and that's going to be the top picture. And then the bottom's what it actually looks like on a PS4. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Can you see that?
The top one looks like Keanu. The bottom one looks like a singer from like a 90s band that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, the top one is Keanu from the E3
bad.
2019 presentation, Johnny Silverhand. And then the same shot, which is on either a PS4 or Xbox One.
It's so bad.
Yeah. Whoop.
Oh, sorry. I just was going to do a screenshot there because we need that for the content.
Yeah.
Oh
so
God.
That's what... I've never seen anything like this. Here, let me show you another one.
What happened?
So
do we know what happened? Because like this is not a thing. Because I know like so many people I follow on like the gram were like, oh my gosh, Cyberpunk 2077, and I was like, I don't think it's going to come out till 2077, and then it did, and it's like this is garbage.
So I've seen this making the rounds. I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but the next gen consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and the high end PCs, they've been working on this game for 7 years, and they had a staff of 350 people or so. And the current gen ones had a staff of about 30 people, and they have 3 years. Now, I don't know if the numbers, I'll probably put that in the clarification corrections for next week, but that's what happens when you don't give people resources, time and resources, and having the correct amount of people working on things. It turns out, I've never seen anything. There's been games, Bethesda with Skyrim and Fallout 76 and the Avengers game. You remember we talked about the Avengers game, the first patch fixed over 1,000 bugs, right, for that Avengers game that came out from Crystal Dynamics, yeah. Squaresoft. Ubisoft games are always... Games come out and they're broken these days. They're not ready. There's bugs, whatever. It's not like the old days where you ship a cartridge and that's it. You can't fix it. There's patches. I've been playing games for over 30 years. I have never seen anything like this, where a game that was this hyped and this anticipated And now it's just, it was the joke making the rounds before Microsoft followed suit with the refunds was that the game was so bad it became an Xbox exclusive. Because Sony just pulled it off the store. I've never seen a game be pulled off the store.
Yeah, that's insane.
I've never seen a game be pulled off the store because of how poor
this
the
actually
quality
made
is.
my news feed before you sent it to me.
Yeah.
That's how big this actually was. It was like, it
Yeah.
made one of my news feed things, and it's like, that's crazy.
Well, this game was supposed to be. This game was like the game. It was supposed to be the last big game of these consoles. You have freaking Keanu Reeves in it. There's commercials for it during Monday Night Football. Like, this was supposed to be the game of this holiday season, and it's a complete laughingstock. And the issue is that everybody hyped up this studio, CD Projekt Red, because of how good Witcher 3 was. That's the only game they've ever made that's any good.
Yeah.
Was Witcher 3. And now this game comes
crazy.
out and it's a total show. So we'll continue to monitor that, but I would say that if you're looking to buy Cyberpunk 2077, either have a high-end PC, a PS5, I guess, or an Xbox Series X, but stay the hell away from it if you're on current-gen consoles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Seems like a disaster.
I have, so we don't have too many quick hitters, so do you want to do the Christmas thing or not?
Sure, let's do the Christmas thing. I honestly, I just looked at it like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I have
we're
no
gonna
idea what I'm
do
going to get into, really. I mean, I do, but I don't.
Right. So we're going to do a fun little Christmas activity. We're going to assume, because as all things are here, that a live-action Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer feature-length film is going to be in development.
I'm sure it'll happen.
And that it's our responsibility to go ahead and lay out the casting call for these characters for the studio. So the main cast that we're gonna cast is we're gonna do the voice of Rudolph, and then the following characters: Sam the Snowman, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, Clarice, Hermie the Elf, Papa Elf, Yukon Cornelius, Charlie in the Box, and King Moonraker. Obviously, there's going to be some other ones, but we're going to stick to this group. So, Sam the Snowman. Who do you think should play Sam the Snowman?
I mean, it's got to be somebody with like a really good voice. Just takes over the scene. I wouldn't mind like Michael Caine. I know we talked about him earlier. I think Michael Caine would be like a nice, a friendly voice, takes over. He's just, I don't know. I feel like that because it was, that's a voice you want to recognize. That's a voice you want to feel comfort in because he is Sam the Snowman.
Right. I'm going to go a little bit in a different direction. I'm going to stick with another Sam, and I'm going to say Samuel L. Jackson. Christmas Town, motherfuckers.
I don't remember F-bombs being dropped in this movie. That was just my thing. Like, yeah. Okay.
Let's get nuts. Santa
Sure.
All right, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus? Sam Elliott should be Santa Claus. I feel like Sam Elliott's never been Santa Claus, and I feel like Sam Elliott would be like a perfect Santa Claus.
You got to get him plumped up, though.
That's not hard. Tim Allen was a thin guy, and he is Santa Claus. So
right,
to a lot of people,
the Santa Claus,
yeah. I just this might all just be voice related for me, which is fine.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man.
Plus, he has a great mustache.
He does have a great stash. I can't think of any off the top of my head that would be good. Ooh, actually, you know what? Let's give him some white hair. Give him a beard. John C. Reilly.
Oh, that would be good. John C. Reilly would be good. Yeah. I like that.
I could see him getting real flustered with the elf song and going, need some more practice, and just walks away.
Just walks away, yeah.
Mrs. Claus.
Zooey Deschanel.
I like it.
Not even close. It honestly isn't even like a close thing to me. For like, I've always thought that Zooey Deschanel should just be Mrs. Santa Claus in anything ever, because it always feels like the age gap for most things is wildly inappropriate. And I think Zooey Deschanel and I and you and me are roughly the same age.
Sure.
And Santa's always like 60.
Yeah.
So I think that would be appropriate. She also just kind of has an elfish look to her.
She does have that.
And she was in Elf.
Was Mrs. Claus an elf?
So, well, I don't know. She's not an elf, but I feel like you want to kind of have that look. I mean, plus she just seems so nice.
She does seem nice.
I don't think,
yes.
if everyone ever told me that Zoe Deschanel was like a bitch, I'm like, no, you probably were the bitch in this situation, and you had it coming. So that's where I come.
All right, who's the voice of Rudolph himself?
Probably the toughest thing. Things aside from this past week, can you imagine if it was like John Mulaney?
Ooh, yeah, John had a rough week.
He had a rough week, and hopefully he comes back. Godspeed to him. I think he will. I think it's going to lead to really, really good stand-up. I think him as Rudolph, though, would actually be great. Because a little sarcasm, like, I think that would actually be really, really funny to me. Because I think Rudolph should be kind of like a young, funny guy. And, I just hate that that's what I think of. Well, I don't hate that because I actually love John Mulaney, and like I said, I hope all the best for him. But indeed. I think it'd be funny to hear Rudolph as John Mulaney because when other people are talking to him, it's John Mulaney coming back, which would just sound so funny to me.
Right. See, the thing is, Rudolph has like a really high voice. It's probably
true.
It was probably voiced by a woman in the claymation cartoon.
Let me see if I can find it. I think I have it up.
Yeah.
I do have it up. Well, I did, and why did it disappear? Oh, stupid IMDb.
You know what I'm going to go with for Rudolph? I'm going to say Tom Holland.
It's Billy Mae Richards.
I don't know what that means.
That is a woman.
Tom Holland, Rudolph.
Oh, Tom Holland would be nice. That'd be cute. But I actually thought Tom Holland would be the dentist.
Well, I have...
That's funny that we said that. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had... Yeah, no. I have the dentist. Clarice, the love interest of Rudolph the dentist. She thinks I'm cute.
That's a tough one. I mean, I think maybe just my own personal preference, I would just put Florence Pugh in there. Just because I like Florence.
Well, can she sing? Because Clarice has a musical
number. She can't not sing.
Dan Dierdorf?
I don't know. I mean, can't not sing. Maybe I'm trying to think of. Ooh. So like Emma Stone can sing. That would be fun. Emma Stone, I think actually would be good.
I'm gonna go with a girl who I know can sing and has appeared in a Christmas movie, and I have a crush on, and that's Anna Kendrick.
Oh damn, you win that. Yeah, Anna Kendrick. Who doesn't? I'll tell you right now. Who does not? If you don't have a crush on Anna Kendrick,
you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. You're 100% doing it wrong.
All right, who's your Hermie? Well, you had Tom Holland as Hermie.
Tom Holland is who I had as Hermie.
Mine is going to be Michael Cera. Is going to be Hermie.
That's pretty good too. I don't think you go wrong with either of those. Yeah.
Hermie Michael the dentist is certainly.
I'm going to be a dentist.
Yeah. I'm independent. Yeah. Our elf on the shelf is named Hermie. I think I told you that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I hate that thing. Papa Elf.
Will Ferrell.
So, here's my thing about that is...
just because.
In my mind's eye, I see James Lipton playing Papa Elf.
Okay,
and he's, he's passed away, obviously.
Yeah.
So, could we get Will Ferrell doing
as
James Lipton from Saturday Night Live?
Why not? Why can't we?
Or, Papa Elf he's a bit gruff, too. So maybe... No, I'm going to stick with that. Will Ferrell playing James Lipton. We've got dolls that walk, talk, and run a temperature. I've watched that so many times. It's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Hermie doesn't want to make toys. Hermie doesn't like to make toys. Yukon Cornelius.
Nick Offerman. Not even close to me. It's Nick Offerman. Who I have talked to on the phone before.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned.
Yeah, right. I can't mention it enough.
Right, sure. Tom Hardy.
Oh.
No. I'm thinking more of Tom Hardy in The Revenant.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's got the beard and...
Yeah, that's good.
That's not a good one.
It's not as good as Nick Offerman though. Nick Offerman is like pretty great as that. Because he's an outdoorsman. I mean, like, that's his whole thing.
Sure.
Gold in the land, as Ron Swanson.
That's, okay. You triggered something in my mind. I'm going to go with Ian McShane for you.
That's not bad.
That's
not bad at all.
Who played Al Swearingen in
that's not
Deadwood.
bad.
Charlie in the Box. He's the century. Nobody wants to play with the Charlie in the Box.
The guy from 30 Rock. Why can't I think of his name?
John
Kenneth.
Lithgow?
No,
Oh,
30
the other
Rock.
guy.
Kenneth.
The other guy.
I got it. Janie would know off the top of her.
Sorry.
This is why. Jack McBriar from 30
Oh,
Rock.
from 30 Rock.
Yeah. That's Jack.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
Jack
I think
McBriar.
that's pretty perfect right there.
I'm gonna go.
He looks weirdly like him.
Yeah, he actually does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode? Did you watch 30 Rock?
Yes, I watched it in real time, and I've
Okay.
never watched it other than that, so
The
I
episode
forget a lot
where-
of things.
The episode where Jerry Seinfeld is on,
Mm.
and he's in the elevator with Kenneth the Page, and Kenneth just goes,
Yes.
boom, 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 boom. And Jerry looks at him, he's like, really? I'm gonna go with a different Jack. That's a good one. That is a really good pick for Charlie in the Box. I'm gonna go with a different Jack, though. I'm gonna go Jack Black for Charlie in
Okay,
the Box.
I won't ever go against Jack Black being in things.
Right. Nobody wants to play with a Charlie in the Box. King Moonraker, the king of the island of misfit toys.
That's a good one.
Somebody of noble descent.
It's got to be. That's tough. You wanted someone with a nice, powerful. I mean, is it James Earl Jones? Is it just we just go that direction and we just say it's James Earl Jones? I mean,
No, it's not James Earl Jones. I mean, I guess it could be, but
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's that's so tough for me. Maybe just give it to Robert Pattinson. Just so him so much. No, it's Harry Styles. I just give it to Harry Styles. Noble descent. Yeah, it's Harry Styles. I think that was the toughest one for me. When I think this over, it's everything else I had kind of an idea, but
right. I think King Moonraker, the lion that is the king of the island of misfit toys, for me would be Michael Caine. I'll go with Michael Caine for you.
So you want Michael Caine with here? Okay,
I'm gonna go with him because I can just see him, giving the speech about the Bumble.
Oh yeah.
Rave about the Joker. Some men just want to see the world burn, but it's the Bumble.
Yeah.
That was a fun little exercise.
I actually really loved that, and I had no idea what I was getting into until 5 minutes ago. So that was great.
Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
That was our video. That's why I did this, because I didn't want to pretend like it was the video segment.
Yeah. That was kind of clip of the week. Sure.
Yeah.
So now we come to the piece de resistance for tonight's episode. Tomorrow, as we record, today is December 22nd, which means that tomorrow is December 23rd, which means that it is Festivus.
Newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
One of my favorite things in life. Did you want to read? I feel like we should read everyone else's and then give ours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the first comes from Bob Sacamano. He says, I bought a house in September. One of the many reasons we chose this neighborhood is because the homeowner's agreement includes landscaping and snow removal. There have been 2 snowstorms, and so far I've received 0 snow removal, shoveled my own driveway and sidewalk both times. Worse, I sold my snowblower with my old house because I expected not to need it. So I literally pay for a service that I don't receive.
That's rough.
First world problems, Bob.
Homeowner fees are weird because we have the same thing here. It was all I hear is
A lot of snow removal out there in
not
Southern
snow
California.
removals, but all I hear is leaf blowers at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what are you doing? I'm trying to sleep. Sprinklers going off at 3 o'clock in the morning? Oh, no.
I would say, here's the thing is, I would say in this particular scenario, the thing that makes it crappy is that he sold the snowblower.
Right. It's ultimate irony.
Yeah. Listen, I've been to Bob's house. He's not breaking his back shoveling his driveway and his sidewalk, I can tell you that. Eddie,
he should just hire one of the kids next door to shovel it.
He doesn't have any. They're still building next to him.
Oh,
So
okay. I figured since it was homeowner fees, there was a development.
Well, yeah, but they're building. They're unoccupied at this time. Eddie, the fact that the job titles make some people think they could talk to employees without said title any way they want. The government giving us 600 after thinking 1,200 would be enough to last us 9 months, and people who consider Die Hard a Christmas movie. Now, let me tackle number 2 real quick, because I read that the president will not be signing this bill. So there's that.
There is that. I posted on my gram, GT Phils, about this.
Yeah.
We try not to make this a political thing, but I did talk to politicians for a really long time in my career as a journalist. Most of them are idiots.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't even know what's going on, which is what I posted. And also a lot of them are independently wealthy, as Janie's sister, and so they don't even know what money actually is to people. And so, yeah, it all sucks. And they throw money around at other things that don't even matter that much. But then they're like, oh, well, you've been out of a job. Here's $600.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a political show, but the government in general in the U.S. is just terrible. I think we can all agree on that.
Do you have any commentary on Die Hard? People who consider
It's a Christmas
Die Hard...
movie because it happens on Christmas. I'm sorry. Like, it happens on Christmas. The Talented Mr. Ripley is a Christmas movie because there's a Christmas theme. Whether or not you watch it at Christmas or whatever, it's a Christmas movie. If a movie happens at Christmas, it's a Christmas movie. Star Wars aren't Christmas movies because they don't happen on Christmas, but I consider them the Christmas movies because they come out at Christmas. It's however you want to interpret Christmas movies, people. I'm sorry.
Melissa B. Micromanagers.
Oh, God. I can't even with that. I've had so many micromanagers in my life.
I think a lot of times it's like, and this kind of goes into a little bit of what Eddie had to say about people with titles thinking that they can talk to people without titles however they want. It's like you get people and they get a little bit of juice and they want to exert that on other people. And, and I think you see that almost anywhere you work.
I will also add that everybody I've ever had that is a micromanager there's no reason they were even put in a position as the manager portion. They had all the reason to be put in the micro portion, but they had no reason to be put in they had no idea. They were just there long enough. That's literally the reason why they were put in this position. That's why they're a micromanager, because the reason why they're a micromanager is because they have no idea what they're doing. So they are just looking over you the entire time because they're like, well, what are you doing? Because they don't know what you're doing because they actually have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
That's a micromanager.
Yeah. I could get further into it, but I'm not.
This could be a show.
I'm not going to.
It could be a challenge and a micromanager show, and it would be fine.
Justin R. writes in, Taco Bell deciding this was the year for menu foolishness. They took like half the stuff off the menu. Can't even get the potato items now. Read the room, Taco Bell. Not the year for it.
I can't get a grilled stuffed burrito.
Yeah, there you
That was
go.
my favorite thing. A steak grilled stuffed burrito.
Right.
That was my favorite menu item. I would get that, give me that, and a chalupa, and a Baja Blast mixed with a pink lemonade, and I was set. Because I would drink a quarter of that drink, I'd pour some rum in it, and that was how I would finish my night. Back in the day when I covered high school football in Greenville. That was how I did my night. Every Friday.
Covering football in Greenville would make me want to drink too. Jared L. writes in.
They were good.
And he says, COVID.
COVID.
Yeah. Well, Jared's dealing with a little bit of the Rona, and we wish him well, and hope that he does
Godspeed,
well.
sir.
And we do agree with that. Our guest from last week, DJ Outro, writes that his grievances definitely have to be with Greg's love of Taylor Swift. I also call Trevor Lawrence Bro Swift. Make sure he knows that.
I love it. All this is not a grievance. This is a love. This is a friend that I didn't know I had.
I think he has a grievance with how much you like Taylor Swift.
It's like, man.
And I'm going
to
tell
have
you,
another Taylor Swift fan out there, to have a Swiftie.
He's not the only one. No, not he doesn't. He's saying he's calling into question.
He has a grievance with my love of. I thought he had to be with. What?
Yeah, he's not the only one.
What?
He's not the only one.
What? Listen to Evermore. Everyone, sit down, light a candle, shut the lights off in your room, and just listen to Evermore. It's incredible. It's incredible. I went from listening, because I don't have the Spotify, but I did my Apple Music and Review, which I
have
will.
a grievance with you for that.
That's fair. But Apple does the same thing. I just figured out how to figure that out. It's not as easy as Spotify. So I went from 27 hours of listening to Taylor Swift before Evermore to 40 hours of listening to Taylor Swift since Evermore came out. I'm still, Sturgill, my guy, is still at 50 hours. But she has made a 13-hour incline. You're falling asleep. Evermore is incredible.
Stretching my neck.
Evermore is incredible. Oh my god, number one album. It's so good. It's so good. Everyone listen to it. Ivy's the best song on the album as far as I'm concerned.
Jenny P. I want my money back for 2020. It sucked. And Ogle Bay in West Virginia sucks. Here. Ogle Bay is
sure.
like a... Well, that's a... I was telling
you.
Oh,
that's the thing. That's the light show thing.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Light shows are always worse than you think.
Well... Yeah, I could have saved my money and just driven around Grove City Memorial Park.
Here's a fun fact. Roller coasters are always better. Light shows always worse.
There you have it.
There's your life lesson.
Sherry H. I don't like how some people still call Meghan Markle the Duchess of Sussex. She's no longer royalty.
That's my mom chiming in.
There you go.
Big fan of the royals, but no fan of this.
If we did... We could do, we're at an hour and 52 minutes. We could do an hour and 52 minutes of just my mother's grievances. Janie T, customers.
That'd be incredible. I would do that. I would do that episode.
Janie T, customers inquire about their items for pickup as though they are right outside the store, but are not actually there to pick them up. Bread and cheese not wrapped up or covered so they get hard and stale in the fridge. Constantly having to tell grown adults to put their masks on over their nose and mouth. Paid bags of books that have been waiting for months without anyone picking them up and take up bookshelf. Paper bags that tear too easily and need to be replaced constantly. Saying or too frequently and taking forever to get the point. No offense taken. Customers who can't seem to remember whether they've paid for an order. Customers who don't read their confirmation emails once they've placed web orders and assume they're immediately ready for pickup. Quick question is almost anything but.
Yeah, it's all true. It's very much bookstore related. I know
that was very comprehensive.
Very comprehensive. Also, that's obviously my girlfriend who works at the bookstore. Yeah, that's funny. I asked her for just a few, and she gave us literally the entire store rundown, which I'm a fan of because that's where my store rundown is. So, how do you want to air our grievances?
Go for it
first.
You go ahead.
Okay, I'm only going to do one. Because if I went on for all of mine, it would literally stretch this show out to 4 hours. I teased it. I'm going to talk about driving in Santa Barbara, which this might just tease us out for 2 more hours. I have lived in Western PA. I have lived in Eastern Texas. I've lived in Los Angeles, and I've lived in Santa Barbara.
And Alaska.
Pittsburgh has some bad drivers. Pittsburgh has some pretty bad drivers. It's also, Pittsburgh's not a good city to drive in. It's built on a triangle. Things are bad. There's a lot of one-ways. Los Angeles is Los Angeles. It's a lot of people driving in a lot of different directions. Santa Barbara, East Texas is not whatever. Texas is actually a very easy state to drive in. Santa Barbara is the worst place. I also lived in Juneau, Alaska, but I won't count because that's also like easy. It's just snow and crap. Santa Barbara is an easy place to drive in. Except that every person on the road is a fucking moron. I'm just, get ready for the bleep. I literally was driving home the other night, and I am in the middle lane just chilling. I'm cruising along. I got the car on cruise control at 73. Driving home. A guy cuts me off. And then I didn't like that. And not to say, like I take pride in my driving. I thought about being a stunt driver in my day. And I think I'd be good at it. I think I consider myself a pretty good driver. You've ridden with me, Brenton.
Sure.
I think you respect my driving ability, my confidence on the roadway.
Yeah, definitely. Built for the interstate.
I'm built for anywhere. And I got a good car out here. I got a nice, strong BMW. 2005. I'm not going to pretend like I'm rich. I got a nice, strong German vehicle. And this guy cuts me off. No reason to cut me off. Absolutely no reason. And so I get on his ass. His ass a little bit. And we're cruising along. And he spikes the brakes, which is fine. As I'm cruising along. And he pulls off. Fine. It's fine. Whatever. He cut me off. Whatever. So anyhow, I give a little intimidation. I didn't think about that. Literally the same stretch of highway home. Another guy cuts me off. So I'm in the slow lane, as it were. But I'm still going a good speed. And another guy is in the middle lane. He cuts me off and then slows down. He slows down. So I go into the middle lane to go around him because he slows down. He then proceeds to give me the finger after he cut me off and slows down. This is just one of the many issues I have.
Did you have a Christmas tree attached to the top of your vehicle?
I had nothing going on. I was just cruising along. There was nothing I did wrong. He cut me off and then gave me the finger as if I did something wrong. That was just one single drive home. Every night that I drive home from my business, the pizza place in Montecito, to Santa Barbara, which is roughly a 10 to 12 minute drive, depending on my lights, I usually encounter 1 to 2 idiots. I encountered 2 in one drive. The other night, I was getting onto the freeway, and there's a guy sitting off the side of the road. And then he sees me. I don't know if he saw me coming. I don't actually think he did. He's just off the curb, and he just speeds ahead of me as I'm going onto the freeway, which, of course, I'm speeding up to get up to highway speed. He speeds up to the highway, and then once he gets to the little spot where you merge, he spikes the brakes. These people, and these weren't all old people. The ages were undetermined. I would say the guy that gave me the finger was definitely my age-ish.
Sure.
I don't know what's going on here. I have a theory that there's a lot of people on some prescription drugs out here because of what it is in being in California. They don't necessarily know what's going on. So far as to say, maybe they're on lithium. I don't know. This is some of the worst drivers I have ever been around. And the fact that I haven't had my car go flying off into the ocean because someone has done something so stupid is incredible to me. Because Santa Barbara County, from the very northern point to the very southern point, the worst drivers I've ever been around. LA, here's the thing, and you'll know this, you'll appreciate this. When you take the driver's test, you know what you don't have to do in California? You don't have to parallel park your car on the driver's test. You should have to know how to do everything when you take a driver's test. If you don't know how to parallel park your car, no driver's license for you, sir. Because you don't know what you're doing. Or ma'am. California, I love it mostly, but in Santa Barbara County, you people have no idea what you're doing when you're driving. Just stay in your coastal homes. Have Grubhub deliver. If you want to be a sponsored Grubhub, please.
Or Postmates or DoorDash.
Or Postmates or anyone that wants to deliver food. Because I refuse to have you on the road because you are all idiots. I'm done.
Very well then. I have some notes prepared for this evening.
I hope.
There are a lot of issues that I have with the world today. But I have chosen to highlight 2 that are relevant in these times, these troubled times that we are living, for our audience this evening, and for you as well. The first of those is the general lack of awareness that people seem to have. And this is pretty widespread in all areas of our day-to-day life. People who drive and don't use turn signals or drive lower than the speed, sure. But there's one set of people. They're so blockheaded, so unaware, so blind to their surroundings. Their self-absorption takes them to a place that sends my hate meter straight off the tops. And those are people in grocery stores.
Oh, no.
They push their cart at a snail's pace. They stand in the middle of the aisle talking on their cell phone. Do you want mayonnaise or Miracle Whip, they say. No. Mayonnaise and Miracle Whip are not the same thing.
No, they are not.
I know they're in the same place, but they're different. They stand cart to cart. And a pack of morons at the end of the row, talking to another idiot who's blissfully unaware of the people, mainly me, they are inconveniencing. Then you have the folks, God forbid I wear a blue shirt in Walmart, because now all of a sudden I work there. They say, excuse me, son, can you tell me where the light bulbs are? I say, sorry, pal, I don't work here. Can you tell me where the light bulbs are? Well, I can tell you where one very specifically is not, sir. Make your way to the checkout. I use the self-checkout for a reason. Because I don't want to talk to you.
Hell yeah.
Specifically. So don't come over and ask me how my day is. Or if I have any plans. Because my plan is to get the hell away from you. As quickly as possible. My day was great. Until you forced yourself into it. You would think that leaving and getting in your car would be the end of the suffering, but no. It's just the start of another adventure. Understand the grocery store or the Walmart parking lot is fraught with as much danger as storming the beaches of Normandy. Some people don't give a damn whether you're coming or going because they're going. Some people are overly cautious and allow too many people to pass, but again, the real problem are the people who are unaware and simply drift as they please, asking to be hit. If you're fortunate to make it through the hellscape of the parking lot without incident, then you're likely to see my second grievance of this evening. As we record, it is December 22nd, in the year 2020. And the season of Yule is upon us. Here in western Pennsylvania, there's been a good accumulation of snow. Some yards may have a snowman watching out over the frozen land, silent sentinels on a winter's morn. Christmas lights can be seen twinkling from each side of the street. So I ask you, kind listener, if the next statement applies to you, heed my words, for no greater folly can be had this season. Throw your fucking jack-o'-lanterns away.
Amen to all that. I mean, I don't deal with that so much because I usually just shop at Trader Joe's and people kind of have like, if you're a Trader Joe's shopper, you kind of know you're with it. And by you kind of know you're under the age of like 45.
Sure.
There is that traditional Trader Joe's shopper. It's like, I will say this one thing, like, eventually I will be over the age of 45 or I'll die. Which could happen. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think happens? Like, because my mom and your mom are with it, you know?
Right.
You know, like I would trust your mom to understand what's going on in the situation. My mom knows what's going on. What is it with some of these people? I think that's part of my, like, airing of grievance. What is it? Do people just be like, over... My mom's not over the age of 60. My mom is, she would be 58. But, like, it's one of those things where it's like, what is it when you get to a certain age where, like, you just quit?
Yeah.
And, like, that's the thing.
Well, that's not even... It's just the... It's not even
like,
the older folks with me. A lot of the times, it's just like... You know, I want bread, and there's somebody standing in front of it that's just so unaware of there's somebody that's behind them. When I'm, like, perusing, like, if I'm, like, I don't know 100%.
Get your Bob's bread and get the hell out of there. You know what I mean?
If I'm looking for something in the aisle, I move back. Like,
Yeah.
If I don't know, if I don't know 100% where it is.
You got to peruse the area.
I move back so that people can get between me. Instead of standing there like a bump on a log. But, yeah. So that's my grievance. Those are my grievances.
It's great. We disagree with those. Those are kind of where I'm at.
So
I wish we just had an episode where I just grievance, but
I don't think that's a verb.
it is now.
Next week's episode will debut, or we'll go live on New Year's Day, so long as we keep the schedule.
Oh, I think you're going to say Twitch.
No, never that.
We'll just Twitch.
I'm afraid to do video. I'm afraid. Two things
I'm
I'm
not.
afraid to do. I'm afraid to do video, and I'm afraid to do live. I'm afraid of both of those things.
Oh,
But
I'm fine. I'm
here
fine
goes.
with all this.
Do we want to do New Year's resolutions or anything like that?
Well,
Or
we
do
will do.
wanna
Well, yeah, we'll
like,
do.
do
I
we
always
wanna,
have the same
like-
New Year's resolution. I have one New Year's resolution. It's always the same.
Okay.
So I can't obviously say it because
Right,
we'll save it
sure.
for next week.
Okay.
Because it's one thing I've never done, and I never do it. I
Do
never.
you want to
it.
do now? I know this is like a loaded question, but do you want to do like favorites of 2020?
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
actually,
break things down like that.
I would.
Because I don't anticipate there's going to probably be a whole lot.
I
of
would say
news
we
in the
just.
next
I mean,
week.
I almost feel like our six pack could be like a best of, worst of 2020. But like, focus on the positive. Like,
there wasn't any.
we got rid of Trump. What? Sorry, not a political podcast.
Listen, did we?
Well,
That's not what
Yeah.
he said.
that's not what he said. Yeah,
He
but
said, yeah.
I think we could do like
Yeah, listen, here's the thing.
it-
you want to go down that
Wh-
route, and this is what I mean about
Here's what we do. We just do a best of episode. Maybe like best three of things. Really narrow it down.
Okay. I do want to
Best three
say
television.
I do want to say this, and you say we got rid of Trump. Joe Biden doesn't remember his name half the time. So it's it's kind of 6 1 half dozen the other to me.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
It's
But there's not a political episode.
Yeah,
We
right,
we gotta move on. We're not.
All right,
A
well,
political show.
we'll work it out. We'll do best of.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, send us your favorite whatever. Send us your favorite
It's
movie
Evermore
that this came
and,
out, album.
Yeah, and
all that.
it's Chromatica.
Yeah, we'll do top three. Top three.
Cutting
How about
Grass.
we do this? We'll each give top 3 albums.
Yep.
Top 3. I didn't see 3 movies that came out this year. I saw Tenet and Trolls. And
I saw a Tenet,
Frozen 2.
and I saw a Christmas movie.
Yeah, exactly.
The new Christmas.
So we'll do
Figure it out.
top 3 TV shows, and you could do your top 3 books, and I'll do my top 3 games.
That sounds good.
Yeah, because I don't read
Yeah,
and
I'm
we
down
don't
with
play
that.
games.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down with that.
I have to make it so that the game reads the words to me because I'm illiterate. So
Reading stuff.
number 7. It was
What?
it was a long show tonight. We're gonna keep.
It's a great show tonight,
It was
though.
a- it
And
was
also,
a
what are
good
you
one.
doing now? Everybody's like chilling anyhow. You're not doing anything.
You know
Listen
what the
to the show.
problem is I think people
Get away from your family that you shouldn't be around anyhow because it's COVID time. People still.
people aren't driving to work, and that's
Yeah.
why nobody's listening.
But you should be. Here's what you do. You
Nobody's
just
going to
curl
the
up.
gym now either. They're all shut down.
That's true. Yeah.
So
But
it's-
just curl up in your corner in your room and just, put on the podcast. It's
Yeah.
not that hard.
Well, at the very least, my monotone voice would probably put some people to sleep.
My enthusiasm probably makes people think I'm on meth. So
Speed.
I don't know what. Yeah,
Well.
true.
A little bit of cocaine.
I'm on the speed of life. No. John Mulaney and I are not hanging out.
They don't even have a good bathroom to do coke in.
Christmas movie.
2020, best movie of the year, American Psycho. Came
Yep,
out
every
25
year.
years ago. All right, it was a great show. Follow us on Instagram at BXG Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at BXG Podcast. Facebook.com/BXG Podcast. BXG Podcast publishes every Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Pacific, on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify, and other podcast services around the globe. This is our last episode for the year 2020, so that's exciting. And yeah,
We've gone this far. That's pretty cool.
We have. We've been doing this for 3 months now, so that's cool. We started this on September 26th.
That's so awesome.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
So we've been going for about 3 months. And so tell your friends. Listen, here's the thing. We people tell us, oh, we love it. You guys are doing great. It's funny. It's this or that. How many people have you told?
I mean, I know
so
many people.
I know you.
It's insane how many people.
But the people who are listening and giving us great feedback.
Literally, the people who are listening. I tell
people.
random people. Yeah, tell the random people. I tell your we joke around, tell your mothers, but literally tell everyone.
Right.
Like tell everyone because I don't know how many shows are out there are literally talking about the topics in the same congruence that we talk about things. The confluence of things that we talk about things.
Easy, John Madden. Tell your friends. Tell your families.
Tell your mothers
about the unmistakable essence that is the BXG podcast. Take care.
Thanks
guys.
For listening, everybody.
Feliz Navidad,
love you guys,
bitches.